Good morning, good morning, good morning, my brothers and sisters. Good morning, and welcome, welcome, welcome to another Good Morning Grief Devotion. It's your boy, Pastor Corey Allen Duncan Sr. So happy and excited, ecstatic and elated to have this wonderful opportunity to come to you today and lead you in a very special way into a yet another Good Morning Grief Devotion. This is the daily grief devotion that is strategically designed to help you to navigate through your grief one day at a time. What is grief? I'm so glad you asked. Grief, my brothers and sisters, it is the natural and normal response to loss, change, and transition that results in the expressions of feelings and emotions. Grief is what you feel on the inside. Mourning is what you reveal on the outside. Therefore, we don't suppress it, but we express it. We don't ignore it, but we explore it. We don't conceal it, but we reveal it. We don't lock it up, but we let it out. And that's why we shout, "Good morning!" Because morning is a good thing. And I want to thank you for joining us on today. Somebody joined yesterday for the first time. They're like, yo, I didn't think I needed it, but I checked it out. I was like, yo, that's dope. Like, I do need it, right? And I was happy just to explain to them that grief goes beyond death, right? Grief deals with loss, change, and transition. And this is the thing, everybody is grieving, you just don't know it, right? Everybody is grieving because everybody is dealing with or has dealt with loss, change, and or transition. Because you've dealt or are dealing with those things, right? You feel something regarding the loss, the change, and the transition that you dealt with. Remember, it's not just death, it's any loss, change, or transition. So what happens is you feel something regarding what you have experienced, but we don't always reveal it, right? We don't always unpack it. We don't always articulate what we're going through, right? So everybody is grieving, you just don't know it. And check this out, if you go back into your past, when you start talking about the loss, the change, and the transition you dealt with in your past that you never unpacked, everybody is dealing with. I'm telling you, you just don't know it. And so I thank y'all for being here. Yes, we do primarily focus on death, but this is just is really in general to deal with all types of grief. So I thank you for joining us, y'all. It's a focus on our mental health. So we come together every single day at 8 a.m. and just offer just some nuggets, a devotion, a few words of encouragement to help you get through the very thing that you're going through. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for allowing me to be your grief coach, right? Your grief coach for 2024. Y'all, today is day 9 of 2024. We're going to talk about it's okay to feel ambivalent. It's okay to feel ambivalent. Pastor Duncan, that's a big word. What is it? I'm going to get to it in a minute. I'm going to let you know. It's okay to feel ambivalent. Let's get to it. Our hearts can be both broken and mending in the same moment. Our hearts can be both broken and mending in the same moment. It's true for two things to be true at the same time, right? When it comes to grief, it's not either or, it's both and. A lot of times people feel like either I got to be happy or I got to be sad, or my heart's got to be broken or my heart's got to be mended, or it's got to be. Nah, it's true for two things to be true at the same time. When you start talking about loss, change, and transition, right? Let's say a job, right? You get fired unjustly from a job, or they just phase out your position, um, or you retired, or just whatever the case may be, right? It's true for two things to be true at the same time. That you can love, like you can love the times, the minutes, the moments, the memories, and the people and the experiences. Like you can love that, and you can loathe, how you left. They fired you unjustly, or they let you go, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times, and I want to use this illustration. So a lot of times you ebb and flow back and forth between those two. And you may feel like I'm going crazy. No, it's true for you to love it and hate it at the same time. I love my experiences. I love the people. I love, the times I had. I love the connections I made. I hate how they did it. I hate how it went down. I hate. It's a love. I hate. It's bitter and sweet. There's some bitter parts about this. There's some sweet parts about that. That's the thing about grief, right? When you start talking about grief, when you start talking about the loss, the change, the transition, things you dealt with, you got to remember it's not either or, it's both and. It's not either or, it's both and. Because your emotions are all over the place. Sometimes they're up and sometimes they're down. And sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're sad. And sometimes, it's good and sometimes it's not good. And whatever you're dealing with in your life, you got to know and understand that you can feel ambivalent, that it's not either or, it's both and. Two things can be true at the same time. Check this out, y'all. Here it is. Our hearts can be both broken and mending in the same moment. My heart is broken, and at the same token, my heart is mending, right? I lost my loved one. My heart is broken. And at the same token, God is helping my heart to mend. I lost my job, or I just got this bad diagnosis from the doctor, or whatever the case may be. I'm going through loss. I'm going through change in my life. I'm going through transition. And so, in one aspect, my heart is broken. In another aspect, I'm hopeful. And check this out. In one aspect, I'm hurting, right? Oh, I'm hurting. My heart is broken. But in another aspect, oh, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for this, that, and the other. And sometimes grief might make you feel like you're going crazy. Grief may make you feel like you all over the place. Grief will have you laughing and crying at the same time, right? Because it's ambivalent. Check this out. The word ambivalence means to feel two opposing ways at the same time. Can I help you? You are not crazy. There may be people like, what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? And then we throw stigmatisms on stuff, say, or stigmas and stuff, be like, are you bipolar, right? Because you was crying this minute and now you happy, and now because you was moody this minute, and then all of a sudden you was hurting, now you hopeful, and have you ever experienced that? And so, and that's why this platform is so important, because it brings an awareness to what you're dealing with. It brings an awareness to grief and what you're feeling. You're not crazy. You're not bipolar. You're ambivalent. I'm helping you. Yeah, look, you didn't learn this at your you didn't get this from your counselor. I'm your coach. I'm telling you, right? You're not crazy. You're not bipolar. You are ambivalent. You're not crazy. You're not bipolar. You are grieving. And when you grieve, you can both hurt and be hopeful, right? Both things can be true at the same time. The word ambivalence means to feel two opposing ways at the same time. If I'm feeling ambivalent, my heart might be both grief stricken and glad, right? Let's take a loved one that's dying of cancer, or they're on their deathbed and they've been suffering this, that, and the other, and they finally transition from time into eternity, right? And you sat there and you watched them suffer, right? And now they're gone. Now you're wrestling with, do I feel bad because they left, or do I feel glad because they left? A part of me kind of feels both. A part of me feels bad because they transition, but a part of me kind of feels glad because there's no longer in pain. They're no longer suffering. What am I supposed to feel? You feel what you feel. You feel ambivalent. That both can be true at the same time, right? That sometimes you can be mad because they let you go, right? But then you can also be glad because of the scrutiny and everything you was dealing with, and the pressure. Your blood pressure was through the roof, and you was tired and dealing with all of this stuff and all of these things that were happening. And so a part of you is mad and a part of you is glad. Which one is true? Both of them, right? It's you're not crazy, you're ambivalent, right? It's true for both things to be true at the same time. If I'm feeling ambivalent, my heart might be both grief stricken and glad. Ambivalence in grief is normal. Can I help you? You're not crazy. It's normal. It's part of the process. You are not crazy. And I'm so glad you're here, because you've been saying, nobody understands me. Nobody understands me. They all label me. They all think of me. Nobody understands me. God understands you. I understand you. because ambivalence in grief is normal, right? It's normal for you to be all over the place. It's normal for you to laugh and cry at the same time. It's normal for you to be sad and glad at the same time. It's grief. It's normal. Nobody else is going to tell you. I'm going to tell you it's normal. I can feel many things at once. Come on. You can feel many things at once. Yeah, grief is not linear. It's not a straight line. Grief is, you remember the gang members when they used to dap up and they be like, yeah, they used to do all that stuff. Some of y'all. That's the way grief is. Grief is all over the place. You be like, it ain't no straight line. Grief is, they used to call it stacking. They used to do all that. That's the way grief is. Grief is all over the place. I want you to know and I want you to understand it's normal. It's part of the process. You're not crazy. You're not bipolar. You're ambivalent. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. Somebody write that in the chat. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. Here's your reflection and final thought. I don't think in terms of this or that. I think in terms of allowing whatever is. That's good right there. I don't think in terms of this and that. I articulated earlier. I said it's not either or, it's both and. I don't think in terms of this and that. Here it is. I think in terms of allowing whatever is. I'm going to allow whatever is. And if I'm sad, I'm going to sit in that moment, right? I'm going to give my permission to feel what I feel. And if I'm glad, I'm going to sit in that moment. And I'm going to give myself permission to feel what I feel. And if I'm sad, I'm going to feel and reveal. And if I'm glad, I'm going to feel and reveal. And if I'm crying while I'm laughing, I'm going to feel and I'm going to reveal. And I know I'm not crazy. And I know I'm not bipolar. I know that I am ambivalent. And it's okay. One last time, the final reflection. I don't think in terms of this or that. I think in terms of allowing whatever is. Today, my brothers and sisters, is day 9. I hope this message was right on time. It's okay to feel ambivalent. Holla at your boy one time for the one time. If you got any questions, typically y'all are a very quiet group. But if you got any questions, I would love to answer them at this time. Anything that you want to share. Good morning to each and every one of you. Anything that you want to share. Anything that you want to share. Anything that you want to share. Anything. Thank you. You are welcome, Pilar Patrick. That's good, Pastor. I feel that about my job. And that's right. You can feel that about your job. It's a myriad of emotions, right? It's a myriad of emotions. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Tammy. Hope and pray all is well. I just lost my friend. I just lost my best friend to cancer. Feeling bad this morning, thinking about her. We watched her take her last breath. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yes, absolutely. Was it? I know there was somebody who just recently passed here in the city. Was she here in the city or was she somewhere else? Because um, I may know who you're talking about if it's the same one. But I'm glad that you're here. So this is a great forum for you to come to because we deal with loss, change, and transition every single day at 8 a.m. It's going to be just a quick grief devotion to kind of give you some tools, tips, and techniques, bring awareness and education to what you're going through. I needed to hear this today. Thank you, Eunice Murray. Thank you so very much. I just started a new job yesterday because the old job kept passing me over for elevation. It was time to go. Yes, that's grief, Miss Cheryl. That's grief. So you deal with that. It's not just death. Or if you look at it, it is the death of a job. It is the death of a season, right? And so, yes, that's grief. And so what's important is when you go through any loss, change, and transition, y'all hear me. This is for free. Y'all hear me. Whenever you go through loss, change, and transition, you have to process it. You got to find a safe place and safe space where you can process your feelings. You got to process. You got to process that old job, Miss Cheryl. You got to process it, right? You got to, because you feel something. You said they kept passing you over for elevation. It was time to go. So you feel something regarding what happened, right? So you got to feel when you process, you put yourself in a place where you can reveal, right? So that you can heal. That's what you want to do. Otherwise, you'll just keep side eyeing them, right? And when there's so much you got to process, you got to navigate through that process. You got to work out those feelings, right? And so that's any loss, change, and transition. Whenever you do that, a job, a relationship, a friendship, somebody dying, you have to process. Grief is what you feel, mourning is what you reveal. So you have to mourn that job. And it might sound crazy, but I'm telling you, it's the God's heaven truth. You got to unpack it. You got to mourn. You got to sit down and you got to unpack that thing. Everything you feel regarding it, you got to get it out, right? So that's how you navigate through it. It's part of the process. It's part of the process. Allow whatever is. Yes, Courtney, that's good, ain't it? Allow whatever is, right? You have to. You have to. What I find hardest is when someone asks you, "Are you okay?" Yeah, and that's a trick question, right? That's a trick question in that. Well, I ain't gonna say it's a trick question. Some people sometimes it's genuine, right? Sometimes it's genuine. People they don't know what to say. They want to ask. I mean, and it's like, of course I'm not okay, right? You ask, am I okay? No, of course. I just lost a loved one. I just got fired from a job. No, I just lost a friendship. I'm not okay, right? And so sometimes that question could be irritating. Sometimes people don't know how to deal with you. They want you to be okay. So they want to hear, yeah, I'm okay. So they can just, okay. But yeah, it can be. That can be an irritating question. But a lot of people are not aware when it comes to grief. So a lot of people are not aware of just the process or how you feel or what they should ask or how they should navigate through stuff. And so I always ask people like, how you holding up today? Right. I ask stuff like that because I know you're not okay. So it's just like, how are you holding up today? Or something along that lines that really supports the essence of what they're dealing and going through. Good morning, my kids, God. I got you. Amen. Prayers definitely for her. Um, Fort Wayne got you. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. 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 You can definitely go back and binge the replays. So this is day 9 of 2024, but we did this every day last year for 2023. So every single day. So it's 365. Four. I missed one day because I was in the hospital. 364 grief devotions. 364 grief devotions that you have at your fingertips. Hey, Miss Linda Hall, I need to hear that this morning. Thank you so very much. That's what I'm trying to do. Process. It is the loss and the transition. Yes. Trying to process the loss and transition. Hey, Stacia, when I lost my mom, I quit my job of 23 years, 6 months later. I had to deal with a double whammy. Yeah, so that's a double whammy. So not only did you lose your mom, but being on a job for 23 years. That is a long time. And you don't walk away from a job of 23 years and not feel something. You don't be attached to something for 23 years and not feel something, right? And so being attached to that, going through that process, right, is so very important. It's like you got to process it. You got to process. You got to process your feelings. You got to process. You got to break this thing down. And that's how you become a healthy version of yourself. Otherwise, you suppress, you don't express, and you just begin to compound all of those feelings, everything that you feel because you don't let it out. So it's so very important that you process that. Hey, Miss Jassa Bailey, how do you process the grief and transition if it's happening in multiple places? Very good question. So this is what you call compounded grief, right? So a lot of times it's not just one thing, it's multiple things. And so it's like it's compounded. It's this over here and that over there and this over there as well. So you really have to put yourself in a safe place, in a safe space where you can process everything that you're going through. There's a lot of transition. There's a lot of things going through. So for the sake of your own mental and emotional health, this is when you enlist the help of other people. This is when you get a counselor, a therapist, a coach, your pastor. Um, you build you a team of people to say, yo, this is what I'm going through, and I just need help processing it, right? And so a counselor, therapist, pastor, a grief group, something, right, on a consistent basis, right? Because it's just like going to the gym. If you go to the gym one time, you get on a treadmill and you lift weights one time and you say, oh, well, it didn't work. Well, how many times did you go last month? Just once. No wonder it didn't work, because it's not what you do initially, is what you do continually, right? And so it's the consistency. It's the consistency of putting yourself in a safe place and safe space to navigate through a process, of being able to reveal, right? To be able to work out your feelings, to process everything you're dealing with and going through. And if it's multiple things, it is absolutely positively essential. It is critical, right? That you put yourself in that position, that you seek out some sources to help you navigate, because your emotions are all, and you don't want to break down, right? You don't want to break down if you're dealing with a lot of loss, change, and transition. So that's very important. I hope that answered your question. Yes, I left a job after 23 years. It felt so good. I wasn't being treated fairly in the last 4 years. Give it to God. He will direct your path. He did it for me. Absolutely. That's exactly what he gonna do. And you have to process that loss. See, people don't think, I'm telling you, uh, I don't care what, if it's a pet, if you lose a pet, Tiffany, I know how connected you are to Milo, right? Lose a pet. You got to process that. That's going to be grief, right? Lose a house, right? Lose whatever it, retire. That's a happy moment. You might go through some grief because you're transitioning from one to another. Get married, right? You may get married. It's supposed to be the happiest time of your life, but you still may feel, you're like, I don't know what's wrong. I can't put my finger on it. Grief, because you're transitioning, you're going through a change, and you are dealing with loss, the loss of this lifestyle that you once knew. And even though you're transitioning to something that may be happy, you still have to process, what am I losing? What is this transition? What am I feeling? A lot of times when you can't put your finger on it, when you say, I don't know what's wrong, I just can't put my finger on it. Watch this. 9 times out of 10 is grief, because grief is like, you just can't put your finger on it. You like, I feel so, I just don't know what it is. I can't explain it. 9 times out of 10 is grief, right? And it can be one of the happiest moments of your life. I graduated, y'all. I graduated. We celebrated that whole weekend. Monday rolled around. I was sad. I'm like, why am I sad? This is supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. Because I just got out of a program where I walked with this community, this village, for 3 years. And we were together every week for 3 years. And we celebrated and all of this stuff. And now it all came to an end. And now, this transition, this loss of this weekly gathering with this group, this change now. And even though I'm happy that I got my degree, there's a part of me that's a little sad because I'm dealing with this transition, right? So I'm telling you, I promise you, 9 times out of 10, if you're dealing with something and you're saying, I can't put my finger on it, 9 times out of 10, Glenn, is grief. It's loss, change, and transition. And you can't identify it, so you don't know how to process it, right? That's why the lesson today was so important, ambivalent, right? So I can get married and I can be happy and I can be a little sad. Yep, because it's transition. Yep. It's loss in a way. So I can graduate and I can be happy and there's something in me that's a little sad. Yep. It's grief, right? It's ambivalence. You're going through transition. You're losing a community. You've been doing this habit, this routine for 3.5 years, right? So I'm telling you, when you get to the point and say, I can't put my finger on it, it's grief. You hear me? 9 times out of 10 is grief. Right, I lost my dog in 2015 and I was a mess. It took me almost 10 years to get Milo. I don't want to feel that pain again. I'm telling you, it's the God's heaven's truth, right? From pets to positions to profit, all of this stuff, man, is, you navigate through it. It's a lot. It took years to get over losing my house. Yes. And this is not even, oh, I'm a materialistic person. I hung up on. No. It's grief, right? It could take years. Yeah, and I did a video and it was the song was too long, so they took it down. I did a video. My car died last year. My car died last year. And I had that car since 2011, right? And so car died, engine blown. And I did this video. I played How Do I Say Goodbye to Yesterday, and I did this video. And I went back in my phone and put all of the memories of the car in the. And when I was doing it, I was like, "What? Wait a minute! Like my son is 17, my daughter 14, my oldest daughter, she's 28. But for the little kids, they grew up in that car, right? Had the last 12, 13 years. My daughter, I mean, ever since they were my son, 2006, 2009, for all they knew was that car. All they knew was that car. So when I went through my phone and I'm putting in videos and I'm putting in they grew up in that car. We had so many memories in that car, right? And so while I turned it into a joke and playing a song, there was a part of me that was like, wow, that was part of our life. It's part of our history. We have many memories and moments and vacations and times and some of the most funniest moments and it happened in that car. So when the tow truck pulled it off and it went down the road, right? I had to process that. I had to process what I was feeling, right? So yeah, house, car, all of this stuff, right? You go through the process because you're dealing with loss, you're dealing with change, you're dealing with transition. And I don't care, don't let nobody try to belittle. I don't care how small it is. Don't let nobody try to belittle it. If it's loss, change, or transition, no matter how big, no matter how small it is, right? You have the right to feel how you feel, right? Right? You have the right. And you have to put yourself in a place where you can process like, what am I feeling regarding this? Like, yeah, you have to process what you lost. You have to process the change that's taking place in your life. You have to process the transition that you find yourself in. That's all a part of grief. Bishop Kim Graves, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for adding your commentary to this devotion. I appreciate that greatly. Pilar Patrick, is hard to navigate trying to grieve, but having to put your grief aside to help someone else who isn't grieving in a functional way. Yes. And I want you to understand this. Never put your grief aside. Never put your grief aside. And I understand if you dealing with something, so I gotta you lose a husband or something, and so you grieving, but you gotta help the kids too. A lot of times we will try to put our stuff aside to assist other people when you gotta know and understand. If you ever ridden on an airplane, they tell you in case of loss of cabin pressure, secure your mask first, then go help other people, right? Because they understand if you try to help others secure their mask without securing your mask, you run the risk of falling out. You run the risk of passing out. And if you pass out, you won't be no good to nobody else. If you're not first good to yourself, you won't be good to nobody else. And Pilar, what we do is we lie to ourselves. We put ourselves on the back burner in the name of trying to help others, right? But we never come back and move ourselves from the background to the forefront. We just continue to use that, right, as an excuse to ignore our feelings and to help other people. So no, is once again, it's not either or, it's both and. It's something that we're going to do simultaneously because I recognize you need some help. I need some help too. When my father died 2011, and I'm always the pastor, I'm always the one coming alongside people, helping people, making sure everybody else is good. And I said, yo, and I know you lost your father. I know you lost a brother. I know you lost a son. I know y'all lost a friend. I lost a dad. And I'm gonna be selfish in this season. I'm focusing on how I feel. I mean, God bless y'all. Love y'all. I pray for y'all later. We'll get to that later, whatever the case may be. But I gotta process me. I'm not gonna put myself on the back burner to make sure everybody else is good in this moment because I'm not good, right? And so it's important. And I understand we got to help other people. We got to assist them, but do not put yours aside, right? Once again, it's not either or, it's both and. We're gonna do this simultaneously. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Hope it does. I was so mad at God. I tithed and gave. I was so disappointed and hurt. Yeah. So you got to process that, right? You got to process that. You got to find a safe place and safe space where you can talk about that, where you can express that, how you feel, what you feel, right? And it's when I say safe place and safe space, you put yourself in a position where you can articulate, where you can be heard, right? And then you have people who can just help you to navigate through that. People who can help you to interpret, right? Um, as you navigate through that season, who can ask probing questions, who can put things into perspective, who can just who give you the freedom to feel. A lot of times people don't give you the freedom to feel. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Right? Nah, that's the worst thing you could tell. Oh, you shouldn't feel that way. You don't tell people I feel how I feel. Well, I do, right? I feel how I feel, right? So you find a safe place and safe space where people will give you the freedom to feel without judgment, without none of that. They give you the free, you hold space for them where people will hold space for you. They give you the freedom to feel and to reveal and to articulate, right? Everything you're going through is so very important for you to process that, express that, and work that out, right? That's it. And what I've come to find is but that's what people want. That's what people long for a safe place and a safe space where they have the freedom to feel and reveal. People long for a safe place and a safe space where they have the freedom to feel and reveal. I'm going to say it again because it's the God's heaven's truth. People long for a safe place and a safe space where they have the freedom to feel and reveal. And that's what you have to find. If you're going to be the best version of yourself, if you're going to navigate through this season of grief, that's what you have to find, right? That's what you have to latch yourself and attach yourself to so that you can be the best version of yourself. Pilar, that's all right. We gonna make it. You gonna make it. You gonna make it. We gonna make it. You gonna make it. I'm telling you. I promise you. It's gonna be all right. We gonna make it. We gonna navigate through this thing, right? And so just continue to do the work. Remember, grief is what you feel. Mourning is what you reveal. Mourning must have motion. Mourning must be active. You want to shift from grief to mourning. Grief, feel, mourning, reveal. A lot of people feel grief, but they don't reveal, which means they end up stuck, stalled, and stagnant. And you stuck right there and there's no progress. You want to shift from grief to mourning. Mourning must have motion, right? Because you just don't want to feel, but you want to find safe places, safe spaces where you have the freedom to feel and reveal. That's my prayer for each and every one of you, right? That's what you will find. Thank you, Brother Mike. I appreciate it. Any other questions real quick, y'all? We never go this long, but y'all have questions. I'm here for it, right? usually the grief group is quiet. I'm so glad y'all asking these questions though, because you got access. Why not? Right? Some people can't go to therapy. Everybody's not getting this every single day, right? So to get a devotion where you can ask questions, or you can, here it is, where you have the safe place and the freedom to feel and reveal, right? And to get a little feedback. Everybody don't have access to this, right? And so not only did we give it to you last year for 365 4 days, we're going to give it to you this year for 365 days, every single day. And so take advantage of it, right? And again, if it's good to you, it's going to be good to somebody else. So tag somebody in the post that can benefit from this grief devotion and let them know, man, it's going down every single day at 8 a.m. Hey, Tiffany Pastor, let them know we can all make it. I was at my lowest and I made it through. Don't give up. It's worth it. Absolutely. I'm telling you, don't give up. It's worth it, right? We all gonna make it through. And it takes a village. It takes a community. It takes us all working together in order to make that happen. Jasa, I needed this morning. God knew. Who knew? God did. God knew. I ain't taking credit for nothing. It's all by the grace of God. It's all by the divine will and plan of God. He knew, and he knew you would be here. He knew what you needed, right? And he sent what you needed in the midst of this moment. So I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad you got it. All right. I thank God for each and every one of y'all. Look, you can always go back and catch the replay. You hear what I say? You can catch the replay. You can watch it again. Send it to somebody who it may be a blessing and benefit them. I'm here for you. And we're going to be here every single day, if God says the same, 8 a.m. with another grief devotion. I love y'all with the love of the Lord. Hope and pray y'all have a terrific Tuesday, my brothers and sisters. Come on, let's go.